Okay, so now that we got the groundwork kind of set up in terms of thinking about for some reason, I try to focus on things other than theme, but this when I talk about Gilda is very heavily loaded towards theme. Um, one of the things to let's talk about the movie sets up its themes before introducing Gilda. Then it introduces Gilda, the very famous question where Balin brings Johnny up to meet her, and he says, "Are you decent?" And she's and it's a whole talk about how amazing she is and how interesting she is. But then you see her head fly up on screen, and she says, "Who, me?" Um, it's an amazing moment. First of all, let's talk about what "Are you decent" means because it's a really interesting sentence. For starters, it has an extremely students often treat professors like they think they're these weird codes in movies, and that's a bad impression that professors give. I don't want to talk about it like it's a code. Are you decent is a completely normal thing to ask. Balin is asking his wife, is she decently dressed so that he can bring someone in to meet her? Because if, for example, she's midway changing clothes or something, or if she's naked laying on the bed, it would be inappropriate, indecent, for him to just bring a stranger, as far as he knows, to see her. So the question, are you decent, means are you dressed fully so that you can meet someone who is not your husband? Um, but the question, are you decent? The fact, it's really fascinating to me that Gilda is introduced with the sentence, are you decent? Because it means other things too. It's not to say that of course, it means the first thing, but when you finish the whole movie, you realize the question, are you decent? That's the key question the entire movie is interested in exploring. Meaning, are you a good person? Are you a decent person? Are you ethical? Are you moral? Are you pure? Are you chaste? There's all these other associations with decency. Um, and the whole movie is about these men struggling to kind of think about whether Gilda is a decent or good person and what does that mean. And so it's a question that resonates through the entire film, and it's why it's crucial to sort of stop and spend some time with it rather than just, yes, of course it has that initial meaning of are you well dressed enough to receive guests, but the question of her decency, her sexual decency, is going to become sort of the main thing that the movie is about. um, she's also introduced with the song Blame It on Mame. The music is playing when we first meet her. Then we will hear it. You can kind of hear it in the background. Um, I think she's listening to it on a record. Later on in the movie, she will sing this song, a slow version of this song, on guitar for Uncle Pio. And then in the climax of the movie, the big end of the movie, she does a strip tease to the song. Of course, the strip tease in 1946 involves taking one glove off, and somehow it's the sexiest scene in any movie ever. But it's a great strip tease. She gets one glove off. That's the end of the burlesque. Um, the song is interesting. It's this is a key thing to do when you're watching movies. When a song is playing in a movie, it is always a good idea to stop the movie, look up the lyrics to the song, and think about why that song and not a different song. These characters will be dancing and they'll be playing a particular piece of music, fine, but there's 100 songs you could dance to. The question is, why did the director choose this song? And what does it communicate to audiences? And again, if you just think about these movies as being windows into other worlds, it's just like, well, that's a song she likes, so she's playing a song she likes. Why this song? I don't know, that's her favorite song, whatever. But you got to get into the why did the director design it this way and what audiences get out of it. So in this case, the song Blame It on Mame is actually an incredible, it's extra important, by the way, because it's like her song. She's introduced while she's playing on a record player. She sings it slow and quiet to Uncle Pio on the guitar, and then she does this big scene in front of all these people where she takes a sexy glove off in front of all of these folks. So what is the song about? Blame It on Mame it's a cute little song. It sounds cute. It's kind of fun. But if you actually look at the lyrics, it's a song about how men things go wrong in the world, and men love to blame it on women. So she talks about, Miss O'Leary. You may have heard that Miss O'Leary's cow, knocked over a lantern and that caused the Great Chicago Fire, which was a very famous and destructive fire. And she says, but it wasn't so. It was that this woman gave this guy a kiss, and the kiss was so hot that it burned Chicago down. Blame it on this woman. Blame it on this woman, boys. specifically boys. She says to them, "Boys, blame you can blame it on Maine, boys, blame it on Maine." And then she says, "You may have heard about the blizzard in New York in 1906, and people said it was Mother Nature." Also, by the way, notice a woman in the metaphor. People blame it on Mother Nature, but actually it was Maine, and this guy asked her out, and she gave him such an ice cold no that the whole place froze, and that people were shoveling snow for weeks. And then in the third verse, talks about this guy got killed, um, and they tried to blame it on it's like a murder, and it's like no, she rejected him, and that she shot him down, which is a metaphor for like I don't want to go out with you, and that's what killed McGrew. So the song is about three things. It's like three events that occurred: a blizzard, and a fire that destroyed a city, and a blizzard that wrecked New York for weeks, and a man who died in the Yukon. And she says, just blame it on Maine. It's all some woman's fault. Go ahead and blame it on the woman. And that is, again, it's not a minor song in a movie like this, where questions about women, and women's sexuality in particular. All the three examples are about it. Was a kiss so hot that it burned the place down. She shot him down, and so he died. She gave him such an ice cold no that a blizzard came in. This it's not just women. It's just like the song is not just about it's women's fault. It's about how women's sexuality is the thing we blame everything on. And I'm sure you can think of dozens of examples of real life situations where we blame women's sexuality for various kinds of problems. The classic example um, is the sort of the rapist who says, well, look at how she's dressed. She was asking for it, right? So the idea is the person's making the argument, well, it's really, I know I attacked her, but really it's her fault. Blame it on Maine, right? Let's blame it on her. And that's millions and millions of other examples of sort of women's sexuality being something that men love to blame problems on. Blame it on the woman, blame it on the woman. And actually, even in The Shining, I mean, why is it that Jack can't write a novel in The Shining? He thinks it's because his wife, Wendy, is holding him back with her bitching and her moaning about Danny, and right? So like the family and his wife is holding him back, right? What does the preacher in Night of the Hunter blame everything? It's women. He's got to defeat these women, and particularly their sexuality really disturbs him. So there's this repeated attempt to blame women, and specifically women's sexuality, for everything. Um, and the song "Blame It on Maine" is a jokey, silly song that absolutely ties into the larger themes of the movie. So that's why it's always a good idea to stop, and especially with music the characters can hear. Because, I mean, you can do it both, right? Sometimes they'll put a song on the soundtrack that's just for you. But if the characters in the film are hearing a song, extra important. If the characters in the film are singing a song, extra, extra important. And if the characters in the film hear that song 3 times, that's a very important song. You should look it up. Um, all right, cool. So the blame it on Maine thing becomes is really, again, a center point. This is what makes the movie smart. Shakespeare does this too, by the way. That when Shakespeare has when Shakespeare or a good movie has an idea, they set it up at the beginning, and then the rest of the movie returns. Like, God, this is exactly. I hate to say this. You're gonna hate me for this. This is what your teachers tell you to do in your essays. Did you ever get a low grade on an essay because the teacher said you got off topic? Because your essay was supposed to be about one thing, and then you started talking about something else, and you got off topic, and you got a low grade. Gilda never gets off topic. Gilda is a movie about women and men's relationship to women, and the way they use women and blame them for things and put them in this terrible position. And every scene in the movie is about that. It's never off topic. Um, it's because as I said before, movies are a form of thinking, and it's sort of thinking through this issue. All right, cool. This is going pretty good. And in the next little video thing, I'm going to talk about voyeurism. This is something that, and I'm sure you've noticed in this class, there's certain things I'm interested in thinking about that show up in all the movies. So the movie has an idea and thinks it all the way through for 2 hours, but then I have some ideas, and I like to see movies that are interested in the same subject. So this is once again a movie that is very much about voyeurism, which was very importantly, that's why the second movie of the semester is about voyeurism, right? That in Rear Window, he spies on his neighbors. He wants to see without being seen, and that complicated relationship between the person watching and the person being watched, which mirrors the audience watching the movie. And this is very much a movie about men watching women. All right, I'll pick it up in the next video.